What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a new type of video I want to get into. More of something that's become one of my favorite pastimes slash hobbies. It is Magic the Gathering, uh, specifically the Commander format. So this is a Nekusar the Mindrazer Commander, I guess, Commander deck profile video, and just showing you guys what's like in the deck. And for those of you that don't know what Nekusar is, he's a two colorless, and he is a blue, black, and red. He's a legendary zombie wizard. He's at the beginning of each player's draw step. That player draws an additional card, and whenever an opponent draws a card, Nekusar the Mindrazer deals 1 damage to that player. So it's a burn commander. And the reason why I like him is because he gets the games going faster. Well, I think this is like a low to medium power deck. Probably medium because of the certain cards in there, but um, it just my first commander that I really enjoyed playing. And we'll start off with the one planeswalker. Uh, he is whenever an opponent draws a card, he deals 1 damage to that player. His minus ability is destroy 2 target creature. His controller draws 2 cards. So basically, he's like him, but in a planeswalker. And his ability destroys target creature, which is pretty cool, making them draw and hopefully taking 2 damage or more. Psychosis Crawler, a 5 colorless. It's an artifact creature. His power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in my hand, and whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. So he's pretty good. Sometimes if you do some wheel effects, he'll burn everybody. I don't know. It's just a lot of value in this deck. This is what I think. It's primarily focused around Fate Unraveler, 3 colorless, 1 black. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Fate Unraveler deals 1 damage to that player. 3/4. Basically another Nekusar. Then we have Gearson Starn. He's Ward 2. Whenever this creature becomes a target with a spell, an opponent controls counter it unless that player pays 2. So his other ability is whenever another source you control deals exactly 1 damage to a permanent player, Gearson Starn deals 2 damage to that permanent player. So like, let's say Nekusar pings for 1, he would also ping for 2 if he's on the field, or like Fate Unraveler or the Planeswalker. Magus of the Wheel, basically a wheel effect, 1 colorless, 1 red, tap to sacrifice. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. Then we have the Captive Kingpin. So he has flying and trample. Whenever 1 or more opponents each lose exactly 1 life, put a 1/1 counter on him, and exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next end step, you may play that card. So really good value. He gets pretty big. Harmonic Prodigy, it has prowess. If an ability of a shaman or another wizard you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So this would trigger an additional time. Jace's Archivist, he's basically a wheel also, 1 blue. Each player discards his or her hand and draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. Really good. Calming, basically at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. He doesn't deal damage, but he's good to get people drawing more cards. Dragon Mage, whenever Dragon Mage deals combat damage to a player, each player discards their hand, then draws 7 cards. So another good wheel effect while doing damage. Torbrand, if a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent, or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. So next door I think would be pinging for 3. Opponent, and yeah, so pretty tight. Sizen Perverter the Truth. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards. So another get him drawing some more cards. The Locust God, he has flying, and whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red instant creature with flying and haste. And his he has another ability: draw a card, then discard a card. When the Locust God dies, return it to its owner hand at the beginning of the next end step. Ozure, if a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than Ozure's power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to Ozure's power instead. And when he dies, it returns to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. So Pretty good. Pinging for 4 if it has Nekusar. And then he has a Temple of Power land. Just add red or tap 2 colorless and a red and tap. Activate only if red sources you control dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn and only as a sorcery. So he can basically transform himself back to this form. Now let's get to the enchantments, which is basically what I run more of those. So 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 creatures, 1 planeswalker. Not a lot. Oh. Well, 12 creatures, 13 with artifact creature over here, the Psychosis Crawler. Basically, Curiosity. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to opponent, you may draw a card. Put that on Nekusar, put that on any of the ones you have there, and you'll start getting value. Teferis, if you would draw a card except the first one, you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards. So, Nekusar or Kami, draw an additional card. This one right here is one of the ones that I think is maybe a cut, but it has won me games so far. It's Force Rotation. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player draws 7 cards. So if you have like a Planeswalker that can't deal with, or like there's not a lot of removal, or you wasted all the removal, or you've seen the table has removed all the removal, then this is really good, because if you have like Nekusar and something else, every single thing they cast is going to be dealing them damage, because they have to draw 7 cards. If they get rid of your source to deal damage, then it's kind of like they're just drawing their whole deck out, and then it becomes an issue, but who knows. There's another version of this one, Painful Quandary, I'll talk about. I feel like that one's superior to this one, because it actually makes them choose and deal damage. So we have Sigil of Sleep. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to a player, that return target creature that player owns to its owner's hand. It's somewhat good. Haven't been able to use it, but it'd be pretty cool to return everything back to their hand. Yeah. Liliana's Caress. Whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life. So this is what somewhat of the deck that the direction is going to. So like many players don't have a limited hand size. So if they don't, they're gonna have to discard at the end of the turn all the extra cards, and dealing 2 damage is gonna start adding on. Then we have Fevered Visions. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If the player is your opponent and has 4 or more cards in hand, Fevered Vision deals 2 damage to him or her. Pretty good. You're making them draw, and then they take damage for discarding. Underworld Dreams. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Underworld Dreams deals 1 damage to that player. Basically, Nekusar in an enchantment form. Waste Not. This is one of our value for discard. So whenever an opponent discards a card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, add 2 black mana to your pool. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. Megrim. Whenever an opponent discards a card, Megrim deals 2 damage to him or her. Pretty good. Helm of the Gas Lord. So as long as enchanted creature is blue, it gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. Nekusar would ping. As long as enchanted creature is black, it gets +1/+1 and it has whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, that player discards a card. So you can see the type of direction that the deck is going to. Fire Emancipation. If a source you control will deal damage to a permanent player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent player instead. Just value. Spiteful Visions. At the beginning of each player's step, that player draws an additional card. Whenever a player draws a card, Spiteful Vision deals damage to that player. So this would also burn us. So it's sort of like maybe there's something better for it. Price of Knowledge. Price of Knowledge is good. It's just 7 mana. So it's kind of, they negate this. Well, if they let this go through, I mean, you're in a good spot. So Enchantment. Players have no maximum hand size. So it's a little contradictory when you play this and you have them discard. But I guess Wheel Effects would get bypast that. But you just wouldn't have them discard at the end of the air step. It's just when you wheel. But it's just different routes the deck can take. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Price of Knowledge deals damage to that player is equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. Pretty good if they have a big hand. I've seen this card has done like 15 damage one time to an opponent, so it's pretty funny. And then we have Phyrexian Tyranny. Whenever a player draws a card, that player loses 2 life unless he or she pays 2 colorless. So that hurts us also, but most of the time people are just not going to be paying the 2. So this is my favorite card in the deck, Painful Quandary. One of my favorite cards in the deck. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card. So, like, this is won me games. Like, this card is so troll. Like, if they let this go through, you're basically in a super good spot because they're going to have to figure out a way to remove it. Or else they're just going to be taking, discarding a card or losing the 5 life, which is nutty. Because if they, they're going to be taking damage from this, from other enchantments and stuff like that. So this is one of the best cards in the deck. Decree of Pain. Destroy all creatures that they can't be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. Basically, when you cycle Decree of Pain, all creatures get it. So, like, an 8 mana board wipe. So, could be better. Deadly Tempest. Destroy creatures. Each player loses life equal to the number of creatures they control that were destroyed that way. The good old Blasphemous Act. This spell costs 1 less. Act deals 13 damage to each creature. Whispering Madness. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards the player discarded this way. Pretty good. Toxic Deluge. We all know this. It's basically the all creatures get -X by you paying the life. Windfall. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards the player discarded this way. Pretty fun. Make people wheel. Hopefully someone has a big hand. Make them take a whole bunch of damage. Diabolic Tutor, basically your tutor for the deck. Do you reveal it? No, you don't reveal it. Counterspell, you need a counterspell. Counters, dismiss. Cyclonic Rift, return target non-land permanent you control. Or if you overload it, return all non-land permanents you don't control to its owner's hands. Pretty nutty. Saw It Coming, basically counter spells. Negate, non-creature spell. Fierce Guardianship, pretty tight card. If you control commander, you may pay this cast without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell, nutty. Arcane Denial, another counter spell. Bedevil, destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker. Pretty good. Another counter spell. Another counter spell. Another counter spell. Terminate, destroy target creature. Pretty good. Destroy target creature, you lose 2 life. Swift Foot Boots, put that on Nekusar. Put that on anybody. Arcane Signet, Demir Signet. Rakdos Signet, Izzet Signet, Decanter of Endless Water, basically gives you no maximum hand size for yourself. Talisman of Indulgence, Crawl Space, no more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. Most of the time, I feel like I'm not getting attacked with creatures like more than 2 at a time. I feel like it's just 2 or less, or not even getting attacked. So this may be a cut. Crawl Space might be a cut. Soul Ring, classic. Talisman of Dominance, so, artifact. What's an artifact? Yeah. Mana Crypt. Shout out to my boy Cesar for letting me borrow this in the deck. Well, this is basically his deck. We just kind of, what is it called? We kind of is a shared deck, so shout out. Mana Crypt. Felwar Stone. Talisman of Creativity, Lightning Greaves, put that on Nekusar, put that on anybody. And the lands, we have a Watery Grave, Temple of the False God, Urbog Tomb of Yawgmoth, Foreboding Ruins, Underground River, Dragon Skull Summit, Drowned Catacomb, Blood Crypt, Frostboy Snarl, Shipwreck Marsh, Storm Carved Coast, Haunted Ridge, Bajuka Bog, classic, Sulphur Springs, Command Tower, Shivian Reef, Choked Estuary, Sulphur Falls, Exotic Orchard, and Steam Vents. So out of all the creatures and stuff that I showed, I feel like there's, I know there's other cards we can run. It's probably like Orcish Bowmasters, but that's $40. Then there's the Sheoldred, or whatever the heck that one is. That one's a nutty card too. That's also like, what, $75? I know those two could be good in the deck. I just, I don't know if it's for sure not competitive, but I know it's like mid-power at least. Then we run some basics right here. What is it? 4 islands, 5 islands, 6 islands, 6 islands, 6 islands, and then we have 5 swamps, and then 5 mountains. So basically that's my Nekusar deck profile. If you guys have any suggestions or anything you guys might think is good for some of the cuts I mentioned, or suggestion for removing any other cards, or what you guys think about it, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Shout out, everybody. See you guys in the next one. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. That's a secret layer too.